as the S&P lost another 75 points. The NASDAQ lost 335 points, and the Dow down another 319 points. Look, we've been talking about since last week when this all started that we're going to have some tough days. Things are going to be bad before they get better, but they're going to get better soon. So again, let me offer my advice, and again, I'm going to preface it by saying I'm not a financial advisor. Just put your 401k statements away. Just don't look at them for a few days, maybe a few weeks. We've been talking for literally a week today. It was last week, this day, that President Trump announced the new tariffs. He called it Liberation Day. And since then, it has been a wild ride. The president announced the additional tariffs on China, gave them some time to react, and they reacted. They increased tariffs charged to us, to the U.S., by 84%, tacked on to their already high 34+% prior to Trump's announcements. So in yesterday's news conference, and look, the media, they're trying to take the financial markets and the chaos that we've seen in there, they're trying to use that to pressure Trump to, well, let's just delay the tariffs. Let's not put them into effect yet. And President Trump has made it very clear, all systems go. He's not backing down, because you have to have that attitude, don't you, when you're negotiating with people. If you negotiate from a weak standpoint, if you let your adversary think that, well, there's some room for some movement here, then you really aren't negotiating from strength, are you? And Donald Trump is not going to put himself in that position, nor our country. Yesterday, in the news conference, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, in cut number 5, confirmed that the additional tariffs were going to take place, or were going to go into effect. Last night at midnight, she reiterated that Trump's belief that China wants to make a deal, but maybe they just aren't quite there yet, and they don't know how to make a deal. Cut number 5.
I'm curious, though, under what conditions at this point would President Trump talk to President Xi about tariffs?
Look, I just spoke to the president about this, and he believes that China wants to make a deal with the United States. He believes China has to make a deal with the United States. It was a mistake for China to retaliate. The president, when America is punched, he punches back harder. That's why there will be 104% tariffs going into effect on China tonight at midnight. But the president believes that Xi and China want to make a deal. They just don't know how to get that started. And the president also wanted me to tell all of you that if China reaches out to make a deal, he'll be incredibly gracious, but he's going to do what's best for the American people.
So China has to call first?
The Chinese want to make a deal. They just don't know how to do it. But the president will be implementing these 104% tariffs on China tonight.
And the tariffs did take effect last night at midnight. So the question now is, when does China come to the table? Are they really wanting to make a deal, as Ms. Leavitt and the president says? And maybe if they come to the table, Trump can give them some lessons on how to make a deal. If they're having trouble coming to the realization that they need to make a deal, they need to sit down with Trump sooner than later, right? Ms. Leavitt added that the president said he would be gracious to China and that he would love to sit down with the Chinese president, Xi, and work this out. So the question today is, how long are we going to wait? Will there be a deal? Will China finally see just how wrong this is? The president was speaking at the National Republican Congressional Committee, and he told the congressman there in cut number 4 how countries are just literally flocking to Washington to get a seat at the table to make a deal. Here's the president.
Don't let some of these politicians go around saying, because I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are dying to make a deal. Please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything, sir. and then I'll see some rebel Republican, you know, some guy that wants to grandstand, say, I think that Congress should take over negotiations. Let me tell you, you don't negotiate like I negotiate. Congress takes over negotiating. Sell America fast because you're going to go busted. You don't. I just saw it today. A couple of your congressmen said, I think we should get involved in the negotiation of the tariffs. Oh, that's what I need. I need some guy telling me how to negotiate.
President Donald Trump speaking to a group of congressmen last night. I'm Joey Hudson, in for Mike. 800-655-MIKE. 800-655-6453 is how you join the conversation. We had this last week has just been crazy at times with the talk of the tariffs. Last night at midnight, Trump's tariffs took effect, and now we're kind of watching the countries respond. And of course, as expected, China responded in a big way. And China's going to be the toughest one because, look, let's just face it here. There's a lot of ego involved here to a degree. China does not want to appear to be bullied, and that's the word that they've used multiple times, is they're not going to let Trump bully them. But at some point, they have to understand, and I think they do, that we're their biggest market. We buy more products from China than any country on the face of the earth. They don't want to lose that market. It's just a matter of how much time they're going to let their ego and their pride get in the way. You know, Senator John Kennedy always has a way with words. And he did it again last night when on the Fox News channel. He said, God created the world, but everything else was made in China. Here's Senator Kennedy.
You agree we're being ripped off?
Yes. Look, China is probably the worst example, but not the only one. God created the world, but everything else is made in China. I mean, we know that. That just reflects reality today. But they're not the only one.
How about gumbo, John? Is gumbo made in China?
But they're not the only one. But because President Trump has done what he's done, and I'm not saying it hasn't been tough with the market, it has been. But we would not be in this situation able to negotiate lower tariffs and trade barriers if President Trump hadn't done what he has done. I just want him to see him turn Scott Bessent loose. He and Scott take them one at a time, and let's lower these tariffs and let American businesses compete with the world, and may the best product and the best price win, and we'll all be better off.
He's right. And, you know, the question that I keep asking, and I honestly can't necessarily find the answer to it. A lot of people kind of talked around it, but how do we get in this shape? Some of the left, or all of the left actually, and some Republicans are getting cold feet because of the markets. And they're questioning Trump. You know, does he really know what he's doing here? But you have to look back and think, who in their right mind would let our country get into this shape? Who would allow these countries, some of which I've never even heard of before, who are charging us high tariffs? And we haven't been charging them anything. I mean, how crazy is that? Now, the Democrats are in full-blown panic, to the point that Senator Chuck Schumer yesterday, this is cut number 6, Senator Schumer yesterday suggesting that maybe they should pull the power of tariffs away from the president. Now, keep in mind that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, they gave Joe Biden this power. They expanded the power of the president to do just what Donald Trump is doing today. But now they're rethinking this. Maybe they shouldn't give Trump this power. Here's Chuck Schumer.
Congress has always had the power to deal with tariffs, and we've always had these fights in the past on some of the tariff issues as well. But Now that Trump is going so overboard, Congress has every legal authority to take those powers back, and that's what we aim to do. And we hope our colleagues in the Republican Party, knowing how bad this is, instead of just trembling in their boots because they're afraid of Trump, join with us and side with the American people.
Now, what kind of message would that send to China if suddenly the U.S. Congress takes the authority away from the president to negotiate tariffs? What message does that send? That would be an absolute disaster. And I can't imagine, I can't even believe that Chuck Schumer would suggest such a thing. Wow. 800-655-MIKE, 800-655-6453. Let's go to the phones. Mike is in Seattle. Welcome, Mike. How are you?
Thank you. China, it's in their DNA to be, we've made a giant out of them, and if we make any kind of deal with them, it's going to be extremely difficult. I would say, invite people from Taiwan to come here because they're going to be slowly twisting the arm, and they just want to run the show. They'll sell all their cheap stuff to other nations. They only buy our top-notch stuff, and we buy stuff that half the stuff Americans do not even need. They're in storage units. They have too much stuff already.
Yep, you're so right, Mike. And the key word there, the key phrase you just used, Mike, is we allow them to become this monster. We allow them to get this big. I'm Joey Hudson, in for Mike Gallagher today.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.